damn thing down the stairs seemed like the thing to do. Then I ripped the bloody door right off the loo. Because when your day starts just like this, an opened up is. When I hear Nikki says, an opened up is. Don't care if you're not impressed, an opened up is. Did I mention I was a house guest, an opened up is. Heading out this evening to meet up with my boys. For a couple beers we'll make a little noise. Checked out the telly to find out what's the score. But the Patriots, they ain't no good no more. I threw that telly on the floor, then caught shit from the man. So I made a beeline straight for the can. Because when your evening starts like this, an opened up is. When Tom Brady leaves the Patriots, an opened up is. Hey, I almost never miss, an opened up is. Everybody take a look at this, an opened up is. Don't care about your rules, don't live my life to please you fools. If you don't like it, turn the other way. That's what I say. Like Desmond Child writing songs with Kiss, and opened up is. Like 90s ballads from Aerosmith, and opened up is. When the Jays can't get no hits, and opened up is. When your socks they smell like this, and opened up is. When you just don't give a shit, and opened up is. I think you get the gist, and opened up is.
Hey fellas, how's it going tonight? It is the Little Brain Train on Friday, February 18th. And in Canada, at least in Ontario, it is a long weekend. Yes, we have Monday off. We deserve it. Yes, we do. We have had a hell of a week here in Ontario. There's been storms. There's been protests. There's been all kinds of shenanigans. There's been War Measures Acts. But we're not going to get into that BS. We're not here to talk about politics or anything to do with that. We're here to talk about music, and we're here to talk about Y2K. Now, why 2K? Well, you'll have to ask Eric when he gets on the show. Really, there's not much of a story to it, but we're doing Y2K tonight. Top 5 albums from the year 2000. Because why not? 22 years. Hard to believe, but you know, it was an interesting year in music, as we will soon see. But before we get into the lists, we always like to do an unboxing, and today I have 2 packages to open. The first one comes from Mr. Aaron himself, who was the subject of the last show that we did, the tribute to Aaron. You know what? I just need to, I'm going to lower my whole thing here. There we go. Okay. So yeah, this came from Mr. Aaron, who we did that awesome show for 2 weeks ago, was our last show. And we are going to play later on in the show, Community, the music video, one more time. This, oh, and he always puts us a little from Aaron's desk, from the note from Aaron there. See that? A note from Aaron. Enjoy. That's it. But that's all you need. And it's the new 2 CD edition of the debut Tea Party album, which actually the original pressing of this album, the original CD from 1990. Hey, Rob. No, Robert hates the unboxings. He hates them. But I appreciate him watching them regardless. Hey, Kev, how you doing, buddy? Hope it's okay. I just called you Kev. So Aaron picked this up at, I believe, Walmart. But it's the 2 CD deluxe edition of the original Tea Party album, which I showed off on Tim's Vinyl Confessions last week. We did about 40 to 50 of our rarest CDs on his show last Saturday. And my original Tea Party was one of them. And now I have the deluxe, thanks to Aaron. So it looks like the first disc is the remastered album with 2 bonus tracks, Solomon's Blues and Pie Dog on the Prowl. And the second disc is the original master. That's kind of cool that they did that. People like Aaron, for example, do not like remasters. They want to hear the original in any case possible. Hey, he got something from Aaron too. Well, spill the beans, unless it's something you're saving for a surprise. I'm curious. So thank you, Aaron, for this. I will keep my original. I paid $50 for it, used at my own store. And this second parcel comes from Artist Endeavor from Ferndale, Michigan. Interesting. And then it says postage paid in Chicago, Illinois. I don't get it. But anyway, what could this be? What could this be? Note the size. Larger than a CD. And in fact, thicker than a record. Because there's more than one thing in here. There are, in fact, 3 things in here. Thing the first. Guns N' Roses, Hard School, the CD. Now, the track listing on this includes the 2 new tracks, Hard School and Absurd, and then Don't Cry and You're Crazy live. Pretty cool. There's the front. There's the back. This is the first new Guns N' Roses in, well, since Chinese Democracy. That was what, 2008? I think 2008. Anthrax. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, he does that. Parcels just show up. Okay, thing the second is Hard School on 7-inch. This includes Hard School and Absurd live. And finally, this is a bit smushed, and I'm a little disappointed that it didn't come in a jewel case. But it's the cassette of Hard School, featuring Hard School, Absurd, Don't Cry live, and You're Crazy live, which is exactly the same as the CD track listing. But the vinyl has Absurd live. And I believe there is a second vinyl coming, another 7-inch, coming from the Guns N' Roses fan club that includes a different live B-side, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, I have every version of Hard School by Guns N' Roses. And having every version of something is, that's an art that one of our special guests tonight, Mr. Tim Derling, he really appreciates. He likes having multiple copies, different formats, including, of course, the 8-track tape. Yes, it's that Tim Derling, the author of this thing. And it is fantastic. I am going to bring on my pal, John Snow, because John Snow also owns a copy of this book. Are you ready to go, John? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, he's ready to go. Okay, so let's bring on John. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. There's my copy.
It's beautiful. You got the hardcover as well.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you got your name in the back.
I've still got a long way to go, but it's still cool. Now, did yours come wrapped?
Yes, I believe it did. Yes, yeah. I have one of those. I got 2 books, so I rewrapped Aaron's in that.
Mine is Kiss.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so it was perfect. I love that one. I'm going to hold on to that and save that.
Mine is packed up with Aaron's book, so I don't
It's
recall.
packed up with Aaron's book.
Yeah, because we went in as a twosome to get the double deal, and I got the wherever I left it, I got my Tim's Vinyl Confessions bag to go with it.
Oh, okay. I didn't get the bag. So
it's nice. It's nice. I don't. Oh, here it is. There we go.
Oh, very nice.
I got the bookmark like you have, and I have a magnet as well, which is currently stuck to the side of my Techniques tape deck.
Mine is currently on the side of my refrigerator.
Who is that big dorky looking guy? He looks like my Uncle John.
Yeah.
We've had him on before. He's commented before. Thanks for tuning in.
I'll slap him next time I see him.
Slap him next time. All right. I'm going to run the theme song, and then we shall get started. Welcome to the LeBrain Train, folks. It is Friday, February 18th, and it is definitely winter.
Ticket to anywhere and a glazed donut to go. The Brain Train. The Brain Train. All aboard.
Hey, Meat Man.
Hey.
How are you doing tonight?
Good. Can you hear me? Just making sure that this is all fine.
Yeah.
Cool. John, how's it going?
Going great. How are you?
Good.
We're just waiting on Tim, who switched devices because his computer wasn't really running all that fast. So why don't we talk about Tim while we wait for him?
So you guys both got the book, eh? I saw. What are you enjoying about it so far?
Well, my review is coming next week, so I don't want to talk about it too much yet.
Fair.
Mine will be a little while. I'm only on 1983. Yeah. So I'm
sure you guys are enjoying it.
I will tell you, Marco Doria has a chapter in here that he wrote. The guy who runs the Rush Fans website, Ryan Murphy, has a chapter. There's a really interesting chapter by a couple that sold 8-track tapes. There's lots of good stuff in here.
That's the one.
Oh, very Rush nice. Golden Ale, which is funny because they just saw me and Ryan Mitchell were at his food mart in Ayr, and they had a new celebration moving pictures Rush beer that was like it was like a big bottle, like almost like a tall bottle kind of thing, maybe about 600 milliliters. $19 for a 16, and it was 14%. So I don't know how that's really beer. It's like wine beer, whatever. So I didn't get it.
That was a Rush branded beer.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it's beverage.
It's called Moving Pictures, and it's got it like just like this. It's got some sort of Rush picture. Like it's yeah. $19 for one bottle of beer, basically.
No, thank you.
No, and I don't even know why. It would probably not taste very good.
I guess we're all buying moving pictures again, though, judging by the excited news this week of that cool box set.
Yeah, I saw there was a lot of stuff coming out different.
So I have right now, I think, 2 copies of moving pictures. I have the original. Well, I don't know if it's the original. I have a deluxe edition that comes with a DVD, and I have another edition that comes in the Sectors box set. So I have at least 2 copies of moving pictures on CD already. This is going to be a third, the box set version. All right. Well, it looks like Tim is in the waiting room. So without further ado, let's bring him on, the author of Unspooled. And hopefully we'll just do some testing here to make sure he can hear us and we can hear him. But Mr. Tim Derling.
The Brain Train is proud to present Tim Derling.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, he's gone.
Oh, no. We have no video. We have nothing.
The rapture has happened.
The rapture has happened. And it's hit the East Coast first.
Well, obviously I'm still here, so that's not a good sign.
I think that's the first time I've ever introduced somebody only to not have them there. All right, so we're gonna see what happens here. Oh, wait. I saw movement. No. I'm not sure what's happening here.
It looks like he's got some sort of technical issue or Wi-Fi issue.
We did StreamYard perfect last week. He and I on Sunday morning. I don't know what's going on. Okay, you know what? I'm going to try. No, okay. Hang on. First for everything says the very helpful Chris.
It's not first.
I'm going to try kicking him from the studio.
And then bring him back.
And then he would have to reconnect. And I'm going to just message him on Facebook. Try reconnecting.
Hey,
boy, it's really hard to text.
What is that destroyer on their back? Is that like a? Is that?
That's the box set.
The box set. Okay, yeah. Cool. That came out fairly recently too. A couple months ago or something.
Was it before Christmas?
I think it came out early December.
Yeah.
I've got the same one, but you can't see it. But it's right above my Rush. It's right there.
Okay, I see the Rush. And is that Andre the Giant on your wall behind you?
Sure is, buddy.
Okay.
Definitely is. Yeah.
Right.
That's in the era when he was managed by Heenan, and like that's what he was wearing.
There's 2 versions of him. There's one with just the trunks, and then there's this one here with the singlet.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the later version.
Okay, I think Tim's back. There we go.
Hey.
Hey, buddy.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
You okay?
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you see your big intro there?
I did. Thank you guys. That was very kind.
Well, we do that every time because you're our special guest. There it is.
This old thing here, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Someday I'll finish it, but yes.
That's great, man. That's it's such a compliment to know that it's appreciated. It's a lot of work. It was a lot of work putting it together, and I have to take the opportunity to thank my good friend Matt Phillips from Go North Design. We've been friends for over 30 years, and if it weren't for him, this book wouldn't exist, and it wouldn't look nearly as good as it does. He spent a lot of time on everything, on the graphics, making sure everything was the right color blend, and I mentioned it in the end credits, and I mean it. Never settling for that looks okay, because he'd show me 3 pictures and be like, I don't know, man, they all look good. So
I don't want to, like I said, I'm going to try to post my review this week, so I don't want to say too much spoilery, but I learned a lot, and I think I appreciate what I appreciate about it that I didn't necessarily appreciate before meeting you. I appreciate that different collectors really have different goals. And your goal was very specific. You wanted 8-track tapes. You can't play them, but you want them, and you're going to look at them while you listen to your CD. But you don't only want 8-track bands from artists that you like.
Right. Yeah. Like the artists that I would collect anyway and buy on any format. If they have an album on 8-track, I want to try and find it.
Yeah. So ABBA comes out. You find an ABBA 8-track and. Fine and dandy, but not necessarily for you, right?
Well, that's the thing. And when you go looking in the wild for 8-tracks, if you're looking for rock 8-tracks, you're going to have to sift through an awful lot of pop and disco and country and easy listening and things like that. You're just not likely to find something in the wild, but it can happen.
Yeah,
it can happen.
I have not yet. I've been searching for Kiss ones for years, and I've never come across one in the wild. And just rock ones in general, they're almost impossible.
Right there, Kiss Alive.
Yeah, I have 6.
It was hard in the early 90s when I started collecting, and it's only getting harder.
Yeah,
because people are starting to realize that, hey, maybe there's some value here, right? And kind of knowing what they've got.
I just want, like you do, I want a copy of all my favorite albums. I want to try to get them in every format if they exist.
Yeah. So I'm only missing 3 Kiss ones. The 3
Animalize.
Goodness.
Animalize, which I'm kicking myself for. I could have had that.
3 only?
Creatures of the Night.
Oh yeah. What would have been the last one? The last
Animalize. Animalize. Creatures of the Night was the last one that would have been released to stores. Now that doesn't mean there were a lot of them. But Lick It Up and Animalize only exist. I've only ever seen them as Columbia House, U.S. Columbia House versions.
Wow.
And I had to buy it now on eBay about 4 years ago on an Animalize, and I should have pulled the trigger on it. Just major regret.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's only money, right?
Right.
How much was it?
It would have been about $200 by the time it was all said and done. But hey, I'd have Animalize on 8-track.
Yeah,
Animalize.
Yeah, how many people can say that?
That's what, like 10 less Big Macs.
Well, think about it. You spend money on food and you get rid of it.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't need to be buying this. You know.
Right.
So I got a cold one with me tonight, and Matt also got me one of these. I'm not a beer drinker, so I've just got it on my shelf. I'll just keep it on here.
Look at this guy.
Does anyone else? Is it driving anyone else crazy that it's the 41st anniversary of Moving Pictures?
No, because COVID's delayed everything, and I'm sure that's the reason.
But it didn't delay the Permanent Waves. That came out in the summer of 2020. I know it's dumb. I know it's dumb. It's just like, you knew this was coming, guys. Why didn't you have it anyway?
That's the delay.
So
it's a
does
fair
that mean
point.
we're going to get the 43rd anniversary of Signals or the, anyway?
Man, I've got a 12th anniversary Tenacious D album. Yeah,
Yeah, that's today. That's very Tenacious D.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, very.
Like Steve Vai has a 34th anniversary of Flexible. That's very Steve Vai.
Mm-hmm.
He does?
Something like that. Yeah.
That's a good album.
I like that album. That was my. You know what? I don't want to get too sidetracked. We got lists to get to.
By the way, Steve Vai fans, shameless plug, TVC on Sunday.
Oh, what?
His show, Tim's Vinyl
My show,
Confessions.
Tim's Vinyl Confessions, TVC. Our Sunday episode is about Steve Vai.
Oh, wow! I thought you were about to say that you were having Steve Vai. Like, wow, that's a coup.
Not quite. No.
Wow,
That would be pretty sweet. Okay, so before we get started, though, Kevin had a question that we're going to pose to Eric, because Eric, you chose this title.
Oh yeah.
And I just noticed your name. Very, very clever.
Well, it's a Kiss reference and
It's very clever.
Well, a Rolling Stones reference if you want.
But Kevin's question was simply why this subject?
Honestly, it was totally spur of the moment. You and I were chatting on Messenger and just kind of back and forth.
I think this was the first idea you tossed at me, though.
Yeah, it was like a list show, and just number wise, it just seemed what was the albums for the turn of the century that and it was just we talked about it just time wise, but I didn't even look at like what albums. It was then that I looked and went, wow, there's some very, very interesting albums here that but there was no rhyme or reason. It was just a spur of the moment.
All right.
It just seemed to fit,
All right. Well, to kick us off, why don't we start at New Year's Eve of the year 1999 and Y2K and all of that, and that'll get us into our list. So I'm just going to tell you where I'm at, and then Jen, if you want to pop in, she's got a pretty cool story of where she was at that night.
Oh yeah.
I was at a certain person's house that Eric and I know that we call She Who Shall Not Be Named, but their New Year's Eve party. It was one of those compulsory things, you had to do it if you don't spend a certain amount of social time, hobnobbing with the management, then you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, they all got pretty loaded. I drove them to Phil's, I believe, where they spent the rest of their New Year's Eve. I went to the Szabo family's house. Rob Szabo, good friend of both of ours, who is a fantastic musician, and we've played on this show many times in his band, Clockwork Orange. Right? Did I got that right? Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't really his band. He just played one gig with them as a backup guitar player.
He was not there that night, but I spent that Y2K evening after dropping off my drunk management at Phil's at the Szabo family's house, and we watched Kim Mitchell play at the stroke of midnight in another province. It was about 11 o'clock then, and we just kind of sat and reminisced about good times. Clock struck midnight. We went home, checked the computer, and it was still running, and that's it. Y2K was a bust. We told it was the end of the world. Jennifer has a much better story.
Okay.
Here,
All right, well, I'll slide over and see
There.
what we can do.
There
Hi,
we go.
everybody. Okay,
Can you hear her okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine was a bit interesting. Started out not in Canada. Me and somebody, we ended up going to Washington, D.C. This person thought
Your
Washington,
ex, just say
my
it's your ex.
He thought Washington was the best thing in the world and secretly wanted to be American. That's another story. So we ended up going to a super fancy dinner at a super fancy restaurant called the Capitol Grill. And then after we were done there, we ended up going to the Washington Mall. And here I am, middle of December, end of December, wearing my prom dress going to Washington Mall. So we're there, and Randy Bachman takes the stage and sings American Woman. Now, America Jr. here, he got all upset because why is he singing American Woman with Senator John McCain, the former war hero?
Oh, yeah, get that one right. Get that right.
War hero. He's on the stage and he's singing a song against the Vietnam War. But yada, yada, yada. Had a good time. Randy Bachman rocked the show. And then the clock went down. So we hit midnight. There's no bombs going here, there, and everywhere. The Russians haven't attacked America. And shortly thereafter, the stage lights up again and Bono's on the stage. And he was thanking everybody and thanking America for everything they did in Ireland and helping Ireland out. So then he, on a guitar, no one behind him, just an acoustic guitar, sang one. And that was our favorite song. So that was like the coolest thing ever.
Very nice.
But yeah, that was cool. My Y2K and a different country from all my family and friends. And we had an okay time.
Well, thanks, sweetie. Appreciate it. Have a good night, babes.
Good night.
See you, Jen.
I'm going to watch my Jeopardy.
Okay. So after that long intro, Let's get started, shall we? Cinco de Listo, Jon Snow, You Will Be Up.
You got my fingers in a fishbowl. Cinco de Listo. The pentagram made crystal. Cinco de Listo. Got my bones left in the pixel. Cinco de Listo. One bullet shy of a pistol. Cinco de Listo. Cinco de Listo. Cinco de Listo. Cinco de Listo.
All right.
Live.
Okay. Now, I don't know where the hell I was December 31st, 1999. So I don't have a story because I don't know if it was that good of a time I don't remember or if it was just that uneventful. So my list, though, in 2000 musically, it was a strange time for me. I was kind of into it, but not into it, not like I am today. I was probably more on the softer side, and this list will probably lean more towards that. I don't think many people will have any of these except for maybe one that I'll be surprised if no one else has. But we'll start off with number 5. It's kind of a twofer. This band released 2 albums in 2000. The first one it's from Everclear.
Oh.
And the first one is Songs from an American Movie, Volume 1, Learning How to Smile. That one's, they're all very loosely concept, all inspired by his divorce. Art Alex, how do you say his name? Alexakis?
Alexakis?
Yeah, we'll go with those.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, so they're kind of a concept, but very loosely based. The first one that came out in the summer, it was more pop and radio oriented, influence from the 70s. The biggest songs on there were AM Radio, Here We Go Again. He did Wonderful was the big hit. But my favorite song was Unemployed Boyfriend and Learning How to Smile. So some really good stuff. The second one came out 4 months later, and it was the rock side of the band. So it was a lot heavier with songs. The opening track, When It All Goes Wrong Again, I mean, really smokes. Rockstar, which was from the movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
And then my favorite song on that one is All Fucked Up. I love that song. Are you bleeping today?
No, I think that's the first time I've ever heard you say that word.
Well, it's the title of the song. I don't want to, I have to read it. That's the way it is. But that's my pick for number 5. I know it's cheating because it's 2 albums, but they're sort of related. So I went with both of them.
I only have 2 comments.
Yes.
One of which is, I was working at the record store that time, and yet I have no memory of them releasing 2 albums. I don't remember that at all. So that's my first comment. My second one is, you remind me of a story of my grandmother where she said the F-bomb because she was talking about something she heard a kid say. And my sister was like, I can't believe you just said that word. We'd never heard her ever say it. And she says, I was just repeating what I heard.
That's my excuse. I never, ever use the F-bomb. Ask my kids.
I believe you.
Wait a second. Don't ask my kids.
And just also just for Tim's usual viewers and friends, I drop a lot of F-bombs and I apologize in advance.
I don't, but I had to.
I usually try not to in Tim's on. I try to be, conscious that maybe his family's watching or whatever. But no, I'm gonna let loose tonight. Anybody else got any comments about Everclear?
I don't know much about that band, to be perfectly honest.
They did a what was the tune in the Detroit Rock City soundtrack?
Boys Are Back in Town.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And
I would say their
was in
first 4 or 5 albums were really great. Then they kind of hit a rough patch.
He's a good songwriter.
Yeah, but and his solo album is not bad at all, which was past few years. Actually, I have it on vinyl. The only one of theirs I have on vinyl. But some good stuff. And I don't have show and tell for that one. And I'm a little upset because I thought I had it in my collection, but I don't. So I will be remedying that probably this weekend or very soon.
Well, I will be doing some show and tell on Meat's behalf tonight.
Yes.
And interestingly, he has a twofer for his number 5 as well.
Oh,
I do. I do. As Patriot fans know, if you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough. So I'm going to basically, and I'll just say, like, when it comes to 99, 2000, I was into so many different styles of music. I can't even comment on it. It was all over the place. So I will go with my number 5. And it's all about a certain artist that I know the brain is quite fond of, and I know he's done a lot of reviewing on his site. And the artist is Brant Bjork. Now, I'm going to be putting 2 albums from 2000 on my list, and neither are Brant Bjork albums, but they're very significant. In 1999, Brant Bjork released his debut solo album, like with him singing, called Jalamanta, which I think is probably LeBrain's favorite album of his.
Halamanta.
Yeah, whatever, yeah. And it's a great album. But the first album that I'm talking about, I released January 26, 2000, so right off the bat, band called Fu Manchu, where Brant Bjork was the drummer in Caius, and he was also the drummer in Fu Manchu for this album, and one after, which also did very well, I called California Crossing.
Oh, great album.
King of the Road is a great album. The opening track of Hell on Wheels is just a great opener, and there is a classic song in there called Weird Beard, which is definitely very novel. And it's basically a stoner rock band. It's kind of heavy, but it's really not that heavy. It's more blues and infused, it's good stuff. There is a cover on there of a Freedom of Choice by Devo, which is very good. Now, the reason why I'm doing a second album is that I released October 3rd, 2000. There's a band called Shay, which is a trio based with Brant Bjork and another guy from Caius. And they did an album called Sounds of Liberation,
which I have reviewed.
Which is a great album. It's kind of more of a EP, but it's longer than Rain and Blood, and they don't call that an EP, so whatever. It's a great album. I've always kind of looked at it like Shay is like if the Foo Fighters got really high, like that's kind of the way, because the album's been in kind of always more poppy than what than what he came out of with Caius, but it's hooky, but it's still stoner rock. So it's a great album. So I had to put both albums in there for 2000. And yeah, Brant Bjork went on to release some absolutely amazing solo albums for years after that. That was number 5.
Good one, Eric.
Yeah.
Fu Manchu's good.
Yeah, we'll maybe talk about that a bit more. Tim, what do you got?
2000 was a weird year. Not a, I had to struggle a little bit with this one. It was a period where bands that I liked and followed were, I don't know, not getting to the tail end of their career, but they were starting to release music not as much. And also, there was a bit of a lull during the 2000s when there weren't a lot of new albums coming out by bands that I liked. And then that changed about 2008. 2008 was a fantastic year for bands that I like. But I got 5 here. I don't have any honorable mentions, but I got 5 here. And sadly, I don't have any of these on vinyl because I just don't. Although one of them, and Mike will know what I'm talking about, one of them I got on pre-order. Anyway, we'll get to that.
Okay.
So
okay.
Number 5, I've got it on cassette and CD, is the Red Rocker, Sammy Hagar, 1013. This came out on Beyond Records, which is some little label that BMG distributed. And it's, I guess, well, no, it's not credited to Sammy Hagar and the Wabos, but it is. The song Let Sally Drive got a little bit of radio play. Deeper Kind of Love did a little bit. I listened to this album for the first time in the last couple of weeks when I was getting ready for this. And one thing I'd forgotten is how great Sammy was singing at this period. Not that, like, when I listen to the Chickenfoot stuff and the Circle stuff, he still sounds good, but he still had the super high range. Even at this point, he would have been 53 at this point. And he sings fantastic on here. The opener, Shaka Doobie, The Limit is great. The Message, Protection's a great song. 3 in the Middle. This is before he started to get into a little bit too much of the hard rock Jimmy Buffett phase, sitting by the beach, sipping on tequila or whatever. Look, he deserves to have a peaceful existence. He's one of my favorite rock and rollers ever, but I like it when he rocks hard. And there's a lot of hard rockers still on this 10-13. 10-13, of course, October 13th, that's his birthday. Yeah. He's a numbers guy. He's all about numbers. And it's not the easiest thing to find on cassette either. So it's definitely not my favorite album from him, but it came in at number 5 for 2000.
Cool.
Would that be his last solo album? Because hasn't he been more like The Circle and Chickenfoot and all that, whatever.
He did one in 2000.
Sammy and the Wabos albums, solo albums, and in 2002 he had Not for Sale, and then he had one in 2006 called Living It Up, which I really don't like at all. Again,
that's the one that has "Fight for Your Right to Party" on it.
Yeah. And then he did the 2 Chickenfoot albums, which I absolutely love.
I love the Chickenfoot.
And then he did Sammy Hagar and Friends in 2013. So there have been some, but there haven't been a lot.
Right. And I will fight people over Chickenfoot, especially that second album, Chickenfoot 3. Oh, so good. Yeah. So good. Thanks, Tim. Now I'm going to do something unusual for my number 5, which is I have 7, and I have to narrow it down to 5, so I'm going to discard 2 right now. And this is not easy. And this is not easy because, okay, you know what? Here we go. It's going to be these 2. Meat, you made this a little bit easier because you've talked about this album, and God, this album means so much to me. It really does. Fell in love to this album to another girl at one point. And you know what? I love this album. Mr. Mike Fraser was an engineer on this album, and I think this album does not get nearly enough credit. This is a fantastic album. This is the last one produced by Vanda and Young. And it has a very old school Bon Scott kind of vibe. There's a song on here called Hold Me Back. Do you know the one I'm talking about? It just has this muted guitar part. Very, very, very repetitive. But AC, that's what AC/DC specializes in. They repeat something in a very special way, and they have a magic to how they do it. Oh, geez, I love these 2 albums, but I got to discard them. I'm sorry. Oh, that hurts. That hurts.
Did you really discard them?
Sorry, John?
Did you really discard them? Because you just went through them.
They don't count. They don't count. They don't count. They don't count.
No, I almost picked the Stiff Upper Lip.
All right. Number 5. Let's get some love to Ronnie James. This was, in my opinion, a comeback album because I did not care for Angry Machines, which was his 2006, I believe, with Tracy G on guitar. And I'm on the fence a bit with, what was the one that came before that? The other one with Tracy G. Strange Highways. Tracy G's a very abrasive, dissonant kind of guitar player. He uses a lot of really abrasive guitar sounds in his solos. And not a lot of people, that didn't appeal to a lot of Dio fans. And those 2 albums are very modern sounding, very chunky riffing. And Angry Machines in particular is really slow and sludgy. So when he came back with Craig Goldie, and I believe Jimmy Baines on this album, Simon Wright, this to me was a comeback. It's a return to a classic Dio sound. It's his first true concept album. And the concept is just so fucky. It's about an alien world named Blessing that there's an evil dude named Shadowcast and a good guy named Ariel. And it's like Conan the Barbarian in space. And it's bookended by these aliens that are talking to each other. And they talk in robot voices. So it's like, we have analyzed the manuscript.
Ugh.
But I'm telling you,
You're not selling it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm going full contrarian on myself, but I'm telling you, musically, I mean, Harrison doesn't like Operation Mindcrime for a lot of the same reasons that I'm talking about here. So, you know, there's that.
Yeah.
Musically, though, Dio was back, and Craig Goldie is an underrated songwriter and guitar player, in my opinion. I love when he works with Dio. I think pretty much every album that Craig Goldie has done with Dio. Jimmy Bain, there's magic there. And there's some truly great songs on here. I don't know if you guys recall Fever Dreams. Bum, 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 bum. Great riff. Deep Purple played it live when they had Dio with them. Remember that? That was the 2000 tour, I think it was. Deep Purple playing Fever Dreams. Ian Pace playing drums on Fever Dreams. It was Magica. It was Magica. Now, here's the worst thing about this album. Tim, no, you're not a Wasp fan, so this means nothing to you. There's a Wasp album where Blackie Lawless does this really long monologue. Spoken word, telling the story.
That's the Crimson Idol.
You got it, buddy. Dio didn't learn from Blackie Lawless's mistake, and he does a narration on this, and it is the driest, most bland, mind-numbingly boring narration I've ever heard in my life. And you'd think Dio would be great at it, but he's not. He's totally stiff. He's really stiff. And
Doesn't Dio do spoken word on Operation Mindcrime 2?
No, he sings. He sings.
He sings. He's a character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. X.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But as much as I am trashing aspects of this album, there's some fucking great songs on here, man. Lord of the Last Day, Fever Dreams, Turn to Stone is a really kicking song with a great riff. Feed My Head. It's just, man, so good. As long as it's not about love is just an awesome ballad. Otherworld. Oh God, there's so much good stuff on this album.
Man, if you're this excited at number 5, man, I think you're like about to have some sort of like.
Yeah, he's gonna have a stroke.
There's this to consider. Anyway, that's my number 5, and Stiff Upper Lip has some filler on it, Kevin. Let's be totally honest about that.
Even guys from Mars know that.
Even guys from Mars know that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Dio album is perfect, but I played it again this week and it earned its spot on my list because it's Dio. When I'm criticizing Dio like this, realize that I am picking nits off the back of a giant. Not a physical giant, a metaphorical giant. It's Dio. Oh, God. Anyway, I've said enough. John, take us into number 4.
Well, Kevin is going to love my number 4.
I love it already.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's going to love it. This band just came out of nowhere in 2000. They'd been gone for 5 years since they'd released an album. A couple of members had released solo albums in between. But they brought in this new producer, and for the life of me, I can't remember his name. I'll look it up. Luke Eben came in to produce it. They wanted a real modern sound.
I know who this is.
I know exactly what you're going to
And they got it
Yeah,
with Bon Jovi's Crush. So, great little thing. Nice little gatefold. 2 LP.
Very
but yeah,
Pearl
I mean,
Jam,
the song,
very Pearl Jam no code look to the cover art.
Yeah.
I was thinking Rush Counterparts, the inside of that.
The inside, yes.
That's funny.
Yes. No, they did not release an album in 2000. They released one in 99 called Euphoria. But no, this one with the song It's My Life, I mean, it just brought the band back into mainstream pop radio, which they didn't really have much in '95 and stuff. It's got the songs "Say It Isn't So," "Thank You for Loving Me." Of course, they do great ballads, but my favorite one is "Just Older,"
Yes, mine too.
and then Captain Crash and the Beauty Queen from
I got the girl.
Mars.
I got the girl. That's a killer song.
Oh yeah, that's the it's one before One Wild Night. But you mean Kevin should love it because of Captain Crash and the Beauty Queen from Mars. I mean, that alone should make Kevin like this one.
There you go.
So
If he
I'm
doesn't,
going to tell
that's
you
okay.
two things about that album. I hated it when it came out, but I listened to it yesterday and I didn't hate it. There's some songs I don't like.
Yeah, there's a couple on here I'm not a fan
It's My
of.
Life, no. But yeah, like the ones you just mentioned. No,
But It's My Life.
I'm good with your pick.
It's My Life was good the first time, but for every album afterwards, they had another song just like it, and they just drove it into the ground.
Yes,
It's
they did.
horrible.
Yes.
I mean, every
Well,
single album.
And let's be
Yeah.
blunt, It's My Life was a transparent rewrite. They were trying to do Living on a Prayer again.
Oh
You
yeah,
know
I think
something,
Tommy
though?
and Gina are in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know something though? I mean, anybody that's read Unspooled knows they were such an important band to me.
Yeah.
And I went way off the radar with them because I did not like These Days. I didn't like it one bit. To me, it was just like one.
I
know.
love These Days.
It's a
lot of-
masterpiece.
I know a lot of Bon Jovi fans really like that one. To me, it's like one heavy song and the rest of it's ballads. That's what I.
There are a
Okay,
lot of
okay,
ballads.
true. But
Yeah,
Tim,
so-
we were talking earlier, and you know how I feel about Trial by Fire Journey. So that's Trial by Fire Journey is my These Days for Bon Jovi.
Yeah, but it's just to me, it's a different type. This was supposed to be a hard rock band. You know what I mean?
I get it.
Anyway, but I distinctly remember hearing "It's My Life" on the radio for the first time, and I got so excited because I knew exactly who it was, obviously, and I'm like,
Yeah.
they're back. They're
Yeah.
making the kind of music that got me into them in the first place.
Fair enough.
Now, unfortunately, I didn't like the album. The album I found it a severe letdown. I liked the first song and I liked the last song. I love One Wild Night. I thought it was bookended really, really well. But and listen, guys, when I say this, it pains me to say this. This was my favorite band. And I'm just being honest. If we were doing top singles from heard it. Listen, I've been a fan since '86. I've heard it all.
Yeah.
I've heard it all. I defended Hysteria against Martin Popoff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm not
He
afraid
can
of
handle
anybody
you,
else.
Kevin.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's all good. It's all good. But if we were doing best singles from 2000, "It's My Life" might have been number one.
Right. I would
But
probably agree.
unfortunately, I really do think it's cool. You got the album though. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I'm only missing a
Anyway,
couple on vinyl.
That's all I had to say about that.
Yeah.
Tim, you know how I told you on your show that I tried to only maintain one copy of a specific album? I
Right.
traded in my Japanese Crush for the 2 CD edition of Crush because it had repeated tracks. And now I'm like, why didn't I keep the Japanese?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else did I want to say about that? Okay, you know what? I forget it. We're not going to go into a Bon Jovi spiel. Eric, you're number 4.
I would like to say I've been very good in not making any sort of negative comment about Bon Jovi through all of that.
Chris Sarr
Your
just
restraint
messaged
is
me about the.
I get the love, but that's all. That's all I'll say. No offense to anyone, of course. My number 4. My number 4 is weirdly, is another stoner rock album, technically, but not really. In the way it really was. The album was released June 6, 2000, and it was the second album produced by Mr. Chris Goss of Masters of Reality at Sound City Studio. If you've seen the movie, it's a great movie.
Excellent.
Excellent movie. And at Sound City was where they recorded Rated R.
Now, this is the deluxe, but the original was blue.
It's normally blue. Yeah. You know, I have such a weird feeling when it comes to this album. Because this band is so strange for me, because the first Queens of the Stone Age album, I've said many times, usually after a few beers, that the Queens of the Stone Age self-titled album is the best album that has distortion on it, and there are still parts of it where I'm just like, what an incredible album. So their second album, A Rated R, was quite different, and a lot of that had to do you're bringing in a bass player called Nick Oliveri, who is a bit of a maverick, and Mark Lanigan of a band called The Screaming Trees was on the album and sang a couple songs as well. The album is different, quite different. Queens of the Stone Age started to break in radio with the song "A Lost Art of Keeping a Secret," and it kind of went from there. I do like the opening track, the "Feel Good Hit of the Summer," which is also a single as well. Basically, a minute and a half song that was basically Josh Homme trying to remember what he took on a party that night, like and
Nicotine, Valium, Vicodin, marijuana, ecstasy, and
alcohol.
And then cocaine.
And then right after there's a part of Mr. Ralph Halford going cocaine. There's just that little part.
You can barely hear it.
You can barely hear it, but it is Rob Halford.
It is Rob Halford.
But the album is good. To me, it doesn't hold up to how much I loved it then. I like it, but it's not something that I would want to put on a lot, because Queens of the Stone Age proved that to me later on. Like the album after that was Songs for the Deaf, and with Dave Grohl on it. And there's some great stuff on that album. In ways, it's probably a better album. Good stuff. But literally, from the next album, I stopped listening to them completely. They turned into a totally different band. It's just not what I signed up for. And throughout the years, this album, which probably would have been my second favorite or third favorite of the year, went down to number 4. And I almost had it at number 5, and it was kind of surprising to me when I really thought about it. But good album. Good band who kind of fell off the rails for me not long after that.
They never got on the rails for me, though.
No, it's definitely an acquired.
The funny thing is, it's one of those bands that I'm sure they're great, but I can't get past the lead singer. He seems to find himself more important than he really is.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
it bothers me to no end.
That's
and
not
so I
false.
can't listen to him.
That's not false.
But that's part of the cool thing. Like you see,
no, there's people that can pull that off.
Yeah.
I don't think he comes across negatively, where some people come across as cool.
He does come across
that's
douchey.
fair. That's
He does
fair.
come
Oh,
across
he
douchey.
certainly is.
Didn't want to use that word. I already got in trouble for the F word, so I didn't want to do douchey.
Okay. Now, this is a true story, and I believe it was in 2000. I did see them live at a very little bar called The Office in London, Ontario, on this tour, because they did like a quick show because they were playing Ozfest in Detroit, I believe, and they came playing in London. And to define Josh Homme, we are sitting on the patio after the show, and I'm walking by him, and there's Josh Homme, and he is one tall guy.
Yeah.
And there's this little blonde that he's talking to. And as I'm walking by them, all I hear him say is, "I'm not much of a talker. Let's just get the fuck out of here." I'm like, holy shit. Isn't that pure? That is Josh Homme. The definition of Josh Homme.
Yeah.
But was it him? That was a few years ago. There was a clip of him looked like he kicked a photographer from the stage.
Yeah, at the show.
Yeah. He's got some serious attitude. There's no doubt about it.
But I'm not surprised that's somebody's pick. I expected someone to pick that.
On their
I had to
live
pick it 'cause
DVD,
Yeah.
There's that great scene of Josh Homme. Somebody's throwing shit at him on stage, and he centers the guy out, and he calls him cocksmoker, and he just goes on this rant about cocksmoker, go eat a bag of dicks, and it's like a full like 2-minute thing on the DVD.
I'll just say one other quick thing on that album. There's a song in there called "Quick and to the Pointless," and it sounds like the Beach Boys on acid or something. Like, it's so weird. And what's notable to me about it is that it has in common with WKRP in Cincinnati, because everyone, when they see that show at the end, they try to figure out, well, what is that guy saying? Well, it was a scratch vocal. As people know, a scratch vocal is just a test vocal to see you. Just do it to see how it sounds. Well, that's what a Quick and to the Pointless was. It was, hey, and let's get a level and whatever. And they played it, and he just went crazy. And they said, you know what? It's done. So it's kind of neat.
That is neat. I like
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, go ahead.
I'm
With
the
your
only
number
person
4.
that used to think that at the end of WKRP that was Talking Heads.
Wow.
So I think it sounds a little bit like David Byrne.
Yeah, there's some weirdness to it. It seems to remind people, like a lot of people, to a lot of different things. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Wow, I never thought about that though.
Me neither.
Neat.
All right, Tim, go ahead, man.
Well, now might be a good time for an ODP.
Oh no!
Wow.
I didn't plan it, but watching the video, I'm like, oh, not like Motley Crue. Okay, all right. And listen, I'm not a huge fan. I'm a medium fan, but I really like this album, New Tattoo, that they put out in 2000. This is the one that it's one of the great ironies about Motley Crue is that those 4 original guys are all still alive, and the only guy that ever died in Motley Crue was a replacement drummer, Randy Castillo. Like, that's just a certain cruel irony there.
There is,
but not the biggest. We talk about D-bags. Yeah, we seem to be on different planets. That's okay.
That is for sure. For sure.
Tommy Lee, probably not the nicest dude in the world. So
I've been finding that out lately. Yeah.
I wasn't sad. I wasn't sad when he finally left to do his rap nonsense. So, and I hated Generation Swine. I hated it. It sounds like crap. Like, production is terrible.
It's shit.
Yeah.
There are maybe half of a decent album if it was produced better. I love the '94 album with John Corabi. I defended that as my favorite Motley Crue album on the Contrarians.
Yeah. Okay.
I just love that album. But this was a good return to form for them, I thought. It's just straight up. This could have been the follow-up to Dr. Feelgood. There's no experimentation here. There's some cool riffing from Mick, of course, and Vince still, whatever they did in the studio, Vince sounds pretty good on this, at least on the album. Dragstrip Superstar, Treat Me Like the Dog I Am. Really surprised that the 4 Horsemen didn't sue for Punched in the Teeth by Love, because you could literally sing Rockin' Is My Business over it.
Yeah.
It's the same riff.
It's true. That's 100%. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have White Punks on Dope by the Tubes. And this was almost number 5. I listened to this in the Sammy one, and a couple songs in the Sammy album I wasn't crazy, but I pretty much liked everything on this, even though it just kind of went along in a medium. I'm just, like I said, I'm a medium fan, but I thought this was a good album, and there weren't a lot of albums I liked that came out that year. So that's my number 4. And you down with ODP? Yeah. Okay.
I have a weird history with Motley Crue.
A lot of girls do.
Oh yeah, I have a weird history. First of all, I did see Motley Crue at the Shout at the Devil tour at the Ricoh Coliseum. I with Accept opening, and true enough, it's a true story. The first time I saw the female genitalia downstairs, a vagina, was at a Motley Crue concert, because me, Scott Hunter, and a guy named I think it was Ron. Yeah, we were lying on. I'm 15, 14, 15. We are lying on the floor at the back of the Rico Coliseum because it's a general mission thing, and it wasn't totally full or whatever. And so we're all three of us are lying there, and this girl in a black leather miniskirt walks right over top of three kids, because we're all 15 years old, stands there and kind of shakes around a little bit, and that's the first time I don't know about those two, but it's the first time I saw it. So that's strange. That's strange. And then
So it was educational.
it was educational. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I was into them. But you know, I mean, as soon as Theater of Pain hit, I wished it was like Total Recall, and I could like go back in time and erase everything that I ever had with Motley Crue. But I will say this: I just recently watched the first 5 episodes of Pam and Tommy.
Yeah,
and I will say that I believe it was the 5th episode. Like, I cheered out loud when Motley Crue got punked out by Third Eye Blind.
Oh my God! You know what?
I cheered out loud. Like, that's how much it was like. Yes, this is
now
what I'm talking about.
Karabi came
Now,
on
the
and
question I
denied
have
that happened.
is the album you just picked? Is that the album that they got booted out of the studio?
This is 4 years later.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that would have been Generation Swine, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, John, I think that this takes place in the period of 96 after Vince was brought back and they started working on Generation Swine, because it's clearly a blonde singer in the studio.
Well, yeah, but Karabi was saying that's just crap. That would not have happened, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, okay.
And he was just defending Motley Crue.
I'm sure he's right, but at the end
It was
credits,
awesome
when
to
they
see.
play that Third Eye Blind song, that do 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 do, I felt like that was the funniest kick in the nuts.
I laughed too.
That was funny.
Fitting. Yeah.
I will add 2 things. Number 1, my 3 least favorite Motley Crue albums, tied for last: Theater of Pain, New Tattoo, and Generation Swine. But having said that, I wrote a song called Punched in the Teeth by Love before that came out. I stole the title from Motley Crue because that was a song that was written for Decade of Decadence and never released. I don't know if it was rewritten or if they reused the title, but that title was published in 91 talking about Decade of Decadence.
Right.
I wrote a song called Punched in the Teeth by Love because around that time I was dating this girl, and it just seemed like I was constantly just getting punched in the teeth by love. So I stole their title, and I was first. Anyway, that's all I have. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. My only complaint about that album is when they released the End box set, that vinyl was not included. They didn't
What about
include
the 94?
You know exactly why that is, because Tommy's not on it. And I hate when they do that.
But did they include 94?
They didn't include 94, Generation Swine, or New Tattoo.
I understand why, because of what Tim said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only original lineup.
I know it's still.
Yeah. But
it's
I agree.
Yeah.
At least Priest included the Ripper albums in their box set.
Absolutely. And at this point in your career, why would you not?
That's cool when they acknowledge that, hey, it's got our name on it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I don't need to say a lot about my number 4 because we've already talked about it extensively. There it is right there. For me, I think there's a few songs here that Meat didn't mention. Did you mention In the Fade? I don't think you mentioned Leg of Lamb. Better Living Through Chemistry was a great song to hear at Sausage Fest that one year.
Better Living Through Chemistry is the song where one of the lines, the melody line, all of it, is completely ripped off and stolen from a Bjork song called Crying, in which, like, it's not, it's in the liner notes. I believe she gets a writing credit. I think she either gets a writing credit or a note, but he just liked this part so much that he put it in the song.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's true.
The only thing I want to add to what you said is this deluxe edition is pretty cool. It has a live set, live at Reading. And if you look at the track they closed with, it's a little song called Millionaire.
Yeah, that's a
Which
great
is-
song.
Yeah, but it's off where you got off the train, I guess. You got off the train on Songs for the Dead.
Yeah, but no, I got off the train after that.
Oh,
I got
after
off
that.
the
Yeah,
train
yeah,
after
yeah.
that.
The album after that, I never bought. I never bought
Yeah.
that one. The one with the light bulb head guy.
I think that the album after Songs of the Dead was the album that Little Sister was on, and I remember hearing Little Sister in the radio and going, "Oh no, no, bye bye."
It's been
Yeah.
a bumpy road since Songs for the Dead.
Yeah.
This is definitely a high point, though. And Jen in particularly really likes Feel Good Hit of the Summer. Did you ever hear the story about when they played that at a rehab hospital?
No.
The story goes they were invited to play for the inpatients at this rehab place, and that was the song that they chose to open with, and they were immediately booted.
I think that's funny as hell because
And that's very Josh Homme.
why are you hiring if you have any research department, they are all druggies, they are all drunks in whatever way, and they don't make any hide there's no hiding of it.
No.
So I blame the people who made that gig. I 100%. Not Queens of the Stone Age fault there.
I will say that Nick Oliveri, when they lost his scream, they lost a lot of what I like about Queens of the Stone Age, because there's every once in a while they throw in those screamers.
Mm-hmm.
I miss that. And I think for me, I really like on Feel Good Hit of the Summer, I really like when Josh Homme goes, a cocaine, a I love it. I love it. It's silly. It's very Homme. Anyway, that's my number 4. No more needs to be said. What's your number 3, John?
All right, my number 3. Again, I go back to 2000. I was more mellow, more into pop. Not in Sync or Britney or Backstreet Boys, but I did like Robbie Williams. And Sing When You're what is it? Sing When You're Winning.
Winning, yeah.
I remember catching the video for Rock DJ, and he's like standing on a platform and he's turning and the skin peels off. He's ripping his skin off, and then all that's there is just muscle and blood, and that really caught my attention, and so had to have it. Supreme song Kids with Kylie Minogue is actually a really good song. I like the opening track, Let Love Be Your Energy, and the final track, The Road to Mandalay. Nice pop song. I don't know, he's got a good voice. He's very different than what we would expect over here. He used to be more, his first couple albums were more Brit pop, but this kind of got more dance, more electric, maybe.
Yes.
But yeah, Robbie Williams. Big fan. I think I have all his stuff. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, that's where I got off the Robbie Williams train, because
where
he
you
did
got
go
off?
a little bit too pop for me.
Yeah.
I love The Ego Has Landed. It's still great.
Yeah.
I still listen to it.
that one's a
I
great
do
one.
remember seeing some things where he impressed me, and it was more his presence. And it's kind of ironic that it's following all this Josh Homme talk, because I kind of get an impression of him a little bit like that he's a cocky kind of sports jock guy, and he's just, and one of his appeals is his confidence in the
Right.
way he, you know what I mean?
No, I agree. He's got that Josh Homme douchiness, but for me, where Josh went more douche, he felt cool to me, and I kind of liked that attitude. And yeah, but I see what you're saying. He's definitely
There's also a little
good
bit
performer,
about,
yeah.
If somebody has that cockiness and attitude, but they're funny, it's one day. But then some people are really humorless about it, and it's
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's true that, and like you brought up the Rock DJ video, there's such a tongue-in-cheek going on in the presentation of that it's exactly what Tim said, that it's funny. So it's almost excuses your ego that you're actually, in some way being funny about it. And it's not all about how great you are.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely thinks he's great, but he does have he pokes fun at himself. If you listen to like live shows and stuff, he's very funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
I remember
definitely cocky himself.
when The Ego Has Landed came out, that had Let Me Entertain You on it. And I remember a lot of people compared him to Freddie Mercury in that
Yeah.
video. But, I like him. I like we used to do this at the record store, like, the album cover. And
Yeah.
yeah,
What was
good
it, a
pick,
turtleneck
John.
or something? He was
It was a
wearing?
turtleneck. Yeah, it doesn't work so well with a t-shirt, but that's, Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
Right there. Mike Kudis, hello tonight. Hello, Maxiax. Get your friend Val to watch. Where's she tonight? All right, Meat Man, what's your number 3?
Number 3. Okay. Well, this is going to please Mr. Our resident soundtrack expert, Mr. Rob Daniels.
Yep.
Released December 5th, 2000. So right at the end of the year, the great Oh Brother Where Art Thou movie and soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, what can I say? The one thing, and I'm curious about, and I'm asking this directly to Rob Daniels. I had read about that the soundtrack was made all before they shot any film, which I find kind of interesting. And I wonder how many movies have done that. I mean, I can think of This Is Spinal Tap would have done the same thing, but
absolutely,
I don't think that's a normal order for soundtrack making on a movie. But the album is great. A T-Bone Burnett, a thing that he did up. Some great musicians. Alison Krauss, Sam Bush, Jerry Douglas, John Hartford, Norman Blake, amazing. And one of the times that the Grammys or the Shammies or whatever you want to call it got it right, because in 2002 it won the Grammy for Album of the Year. The only one in this decade still that where a soundtrack has been Album of the Year. There were 2 previous ones, or 3, I believe. Peter Gunn, Saturday Night Fever, and The Bodyguard. But yeah, it's almost all new tracks. There is a song in there that people know well called Big Rock Candy Mountain, which was actually recorded in 1924 by a guy named Harry McClintock. And there's just so many great songs. I'm a Man of Constant Sorrow, awesome. In the Jailhouse Now, awesome.
Which is actually sung by Tim Blake Nelson.
Yeah, and Down to the River to Pray. That's been an earworm in my head so many times. The album is awesome, and I almost put this higher just because of how important and amazing this album is. But number 3. Oh Brother Where Art Thou? I remember seeing the movie with Tom Morwood, who will be talked about in my next one as well. It's just an amazing experience. Love it.
That's
and it
a
really
good choice.
sparked
I didn't even think about that one, so that's good.
It really sparked a bluegrass renaissance a bit. Steve Earle went and did The Mountain shortly after that.
Nope.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
99.
Okay. Interesting. So synchronicity more than anything else.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. All right, Tim, your number 3.
And after Tim, can we take a quick break, please?
I was going to say that.
Well, if I got eye rolls and jeers from the comments for Motley Crue, I'm really going to get it now.
Oh no.
I'm really going to get it now. But guess what? I don't care.
Good.
I'm doing what some of you have done, cheating a little bit, because this band, I don't even want to say they put 2 albums out in 2000. I'm going to say the 2 albums by this band came out in 2000, because the first one was recorded in 94, probably would have come out in 95 or 96, but Capitol Records shelved it.
I know.
Mike knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So in early 2000, Poison. Crack the Smile.
Yeah, I like
Very
that.
good album.
The only album they did with Blues Saraceno on guitar.
Yeah.
So that's the second album in a row. They had a different guitar player. I love Native Tongue. I argued that for my favorite Poison album on the Contrarians. And I love CC DeVille. CC's a riot. But I love the fact that they have these 2 albums with different guys on there. And blues is doesn't sound like Richie Kotzen at all.
No.
And they just did a fun album it's the anti-grunge. Best Thing You Ever Had, Shut Up, Make Love, Baby Gets Around a Bit. I mean, No Ring, No Get, Tragically Unhip. Really fun cover of Cover the Rolling Stone.
Yeah, that's
where
I love
they're
that one.
drunk all the way through it. I think Charlie Sheen's on it. He's not singing, but I think he was in the studio.
He was
Now
Brett's
this
buddy.
version, it's the album proper has got 12 tracks on it. There's actually 20 songs on this CD because this is Crack a Smile and more. Because this and the Kiss Carnival of Souls were two albums that circulated around the internet a lot because they were both shelved albums. But once it actually came out like this, I just find this a really enjoyable album. No one ever talks.
It's very good.
As the cassette version too. But
Nice.
of course, the big news in 2000 and the moneymaker was that the previous year the original four guys had reunited and they put out this Power to the People, which is 5 studio tracks and then some live stuff. But the 5 studio tracks, I think 4 of the 5 of them are absolutely killer. I wish they'd have done a full album of songs in that quality. The title song is amazing. Can't Bring Me Down is a lot of fun. CC has a really fun song in here called I Hate Every Bone in Your Body But Mine. I saw them on this tour. I saw them on this tour with Cinderella, Dokken, and Slaughter, and it's probably one of the most fun shows I've ever been to. And for someone that grew up in this era, was all about the hair metal and not into the grunge. When I was standing inside of a crowded civic center looking around at people cheering for this stuff, it was like, wow, okay, it's not just me that still likes this stuff.
Yeah.
So I hesitate to say that one album, it was 6 years old when it came out. One album's only 5 new songs. So together they make my number 3.
Nice.
What were the 3 bands that were at that show that you said?
So Slaughter opened.
Yeah.
Then Dokken, then Cinderella, who were amazing, and then Poison.
Now, I know that there are some great musicians within those bands, but is it possible that may have been like the largest group of date rapes that have ever happened in what?
Oh my God!
Wow,
That's awful. Yeah, no,
okay, it was a joke. It was a joke.
So
I will say this. It's funny because you guys, somebody's gonna laugh at me all you want. I'm a Winger fan. I love Winger.
Yeah.
they're
Rod Morgenstein,
fantastic.
man.
Love Rod Morgenstein.
I love all that.
I've seen Reb Beach now twice in concert, but not with Winger. So he was playing with Dokken when I saw them, and they were great. And then I saw him 4 years ago with Whitesnake. I still have yet to see him with Winger.
I've seen him with Alice Cooper.
Awesome. There you go.
Really?
3 members of that.
Yeah,
3
he
members of
played
Winger
Lulu's with Alice
at one
Cooper.
time or another.
Oh, wow.
Eric Singer on drums.
Oh,
wow.
When I saw him. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Actually, I've seen Alice twice, and he had Eric Singer both times. So Tim, my only
the 2
comment.
times I saw Alice, we'll get to that. Eric was on drums.
Yeah, so I know what you're talking about there. So Tim, my only comment about your pick is I love Crack a Smile, and my favorite track actually on Crack a Smile is weirdly enough, it's the untitled Crack a Smile demo. It had some potential. That song. It's got some good harmonica. It has some good hooks. It's just a good timey song. I love the raw, unproduced nature of it. I'll take it.
There's no such CD as Winger 3.
It's called
he must be
Full.
talking about Winger 2 then. He must be talking about Winger 2.
Yeah.
There's no. Unless
3 is
Winger
full.
4.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't need Winger 2.
Yeah.
There you go.
No. You got it on vinyl. I take it on vinyl.
Oh, I would take Full on vinyl. I have
only
2
the
on
first
vinyl.
one on vinyl.
I have the first 2 on vinyl.
Not that I would try to convince Eric on Winger, but there's a song on there called In the Heart of the Young, and there's another song on there called Rainbow in the Rose, and they're a little bit more in the progressive side. And Morgenstein is just a technician on both of those songs.
Well, I'm a
like
huge fan.
Hair metal. If there was
progressive hair metal, a little bit more in the hair than progressive, but those 2 songs are very much more progressive than
I've actually heard
Little Dirty Blonde.
I've actually heard well, first of all, I did hear the first Winger album and enjoyed it a lot. And okay, a lot is maybe okay. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Meat's freezing.
Oh, what was I just gonna say? Damn it!
I don't know, but we're going to take a break. So why don't we do that and you
Hello?
come back from your brain fart and
Okay.
let's take a break. So
Okay.
we had a
All
request tonight. We had a song request from Mr. T-Bone Erickson. He wanted to hear some Max the Axe tonight. And since Mike Kudis is watching, this is only appropriate that we play an original song, Pygmy Blow Dart, from the new Oktoberfest Cheer EP. It's Max the Axe. See you in a bit.
Blow dart. Let's go.
You know I gotta get around. I gotta find around. I think I'm going downtown and looking for some smoke. When I get it from my friends again. Then I get it from my friends again. Then I find it, I get it downtown again. And then you know it, I'm looking for some dough. You know I gotta get around. I gotta find around. I think I'm going downtown and I'm looking for some dough. When I get it from my friends again. Then I get it from my friends again. When I find it downtown again. And then you know it, I'm looking for some dough, but you don't. You know I gotta get around. I gotta find around. I think I'm going downtown and I'm looking for some dough. When I get it from my friends again. Then I get it from my friends again. When I find it, I'm getting downtown again and again. Then you know it, I'm looking for some dough. I gotta get around. 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 Go.
It was a hybrid.
So raise up that beer.
That was Max the Axe with Pygmy Blow Dart. We had some nice response from the viewers there. Not unbiased at all, though. I guess that song would be Max the Axe's very own version of Feel Good Hit of the Summer. I don't know. Anyway, I never even did my number 3, but I don't have a lot to say because at this point, Meat and I are really so in line.
Wow.
My only additional comment: working at the record store, these sold as hotcakes that summer. I listened to it frequently in store because it was a great album for that environment. But what I want to share is just a story about my grandmother. And we went to the movie theater, and I can't remember what we saw, but I want to say Star Trek Insurrection, while my grandmother went to a different cinema. And she came out. We asked her, well, which one did you go see? And she goes, oh, I saw the nicest movie. It was called Brother, Can You Spare a Dime? Was oh brother, where art thou? But this is coming from my same grandmother, who one of her favorite movies is called, apparently, There's Mail Waiting for You. You've got mail.
You've got mail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, come on,
I'll take
man. I'll take Dog Eat Dog.
I'll take all three of them.
Give them to John then. So it's
Well,
only
actually,
one.
I have Stick It To You on vinyl, so I don't need that.
The Wildlife is a great album.
It is.
Time Goes By, is that the name of the one song?
Yeah, and there are Kiss My Wax is doing a box set of that.
Times They Change.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a progressive song, Times They Change. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Go ahead, John. You're taking us into the top two.
Top two. All right, my number two has a very personal connection, which I didn't know about until a year later. It's a Christian rock band that they started as a Christian rock band, but they got a record deal, so they became a commercial band. And it's Lifehouse.
Oh!
With No Name Face. The personal connection with this one is it was mixed at Southern Track Studio in Atlanta, where I'm from. And it was mixed by Brendan O'Brien.
Yes.
And my brother-in-law was working for Brendan O'Brien at that time, so he helped assisted with the mixing on this one. I found out a year later when I met my wife, and it's her brother, and we were going through, and I was like, we were talking about what we listened to. I was like, I like Trains Drop to Jupiter. He went, yeah, I did that. I like Lifehouse. Yeah, I did that one too. It's just like everything I named, he had worked on, so it was kind of cool. But, his voice, Jason Wade, his voice is kind of a mixture of Pearl Jam or Eddie Vedder, kind of Scott Weiland, just kind of in that realm. He sort of mumbles at times, but not quite. So it's very modern, but it's also pop. And I like Hanging by the Moment, Big Cycle Carousel. There's just a lot of good ones. It's just pop, and I really like it. This is the first album, their debut. I've bought every single one since, and still a fan. And I think they just released an EP that I did not know about, so I've got to go get that one. I don't know if I think it's all digital. I don't think I can buy it. So if they're watching, put a CD out with that. So that's my number two.
And just to plug a past show, of course, we had your brother-in-law Ryan Williams on
Yes.
back in the summer.
It was May or June?
Spring, summer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic show. It was absolutely a pleasure to have him on, and give that one a watch. I think that was that your second interview?
That was my second, because we did Paul Lane. Was first.
Yeah. We did him early 2021, I think.
Yeah, it was April.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
And we will be talking to him again. I promise.
Yes, we will. He's just very busy with the Defiance third album. I think,
and all of his commercial work. My God,
yeah,
his
TV
work.
commercial work. He's constantly busy. He's also got another album coming out. It was a Jets. He's gonna kill me. But yeah,
and you'll have to buy
hopefully
that
he's
too.
not watching, because he'll be mad that I can't remember the name of the new group.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he'll be furious with you.
Yeah, he'll be so mad. He might not come on now.
Right. Anyway, that's a cool pick, and I'm really glad that you and Tim have like diverse sets of picks, because Meat and I have not at all.
Well, the thing
So
is, I like all of Tim's picks too. So
I have been mixed on his picks.
Yeah.
Meat, what is yours and mine number two?
Yeah, I know that my number two is also coming in for LeBrain. Well, I am wearing this person right now. Steve Earle and the Dukes. This one I don't believe was the Dukes. It could have been, but anyway.
It was not.
Released June 6, 2000. Album called Transcendental Blues by Steve Earle. Steve Earle became a massive artist for me, kind of changed a lot of what I loved about music. I got very into his album El Corazon extremely, and like we were talking about, then the Mountain, and I was actually in a bluegrass kind of phase when that came out, and Transcendental Blues I waited for it. And it's strange because I had a tape when I was working at the Brick Brewery, working nights, and I had on a cassette that I had Rated R by Queens of the Stone Age on one side and Transcendental Blues by Steve Earle on the other, and I used to listen to them twice a night and just sing along and belt it out because I'm working nights. It's interesting because they were both released on the same day, on June 6th, 2000. It's strange that they became that way, but Transcendental Blues was a huge one. I was seeing a lot of Steve Earle live. What was that? Sorry. I was seeing a lot of Steve Earle live. I saw him at least twice on this tour. It might have been 3 times. We went and saw him at the U of T Convocation Hall, in which I didn't really meet, but was standing beside for a while a pregnant Erica M, of all people. Myself, Tom Morwood, and Joe Perry, and a late friend of me and Mike, and many other people, Troy Jonaru. There's a video out there at the time I had on VHS. It's probably a DVD now, and it's a live video of him playing that tour, and the 4 of us are on this video like several times because we had good seats and everything. So it's kind of neat to watch back. But there's so many great songs. The song "A Galway Girl" he's played live pretty much since he wrote it, and in many different forms, and it's so great. There's a song in there called "When I Fall" that he does a duet with his sister Stacey Earle, in which Tom Morwood and I did see them do live together. I guess Stacey Earle was opening up the show, and it made us hug, and there was a lot of love going on in the room. There were 2 different people, Sausage Fest people, that I can see babies that night. It's a very strange night, no doubt about it. But such a great album, and it was my number 2.
Very good.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tim, you're gonna shock me with something cool. Can you hear me? Am I heard? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
I can hear you.
Oh, we're getting transmissions from space on Tim's audio somehow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's some. It sounds like somebody's eating chips or something.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Oh, it's an echo. It's okay. Well, you know what? While we wait for Tim to reconnect, I'll just say my spiel about the same album, because why not? My 2, if I had to boil it down, my 2 songs on this album are in a row: Steve's Last Ramble and The Galway Girl. Yeah. They're both they're very much 2 of a kind. Tim's messaging me. Oh, his phone died, so he might have to reconnect with his computer. Okay, so I'll just be talking to him on the side here. There's a real Celtic feel to a couple of the songs on this album, and The Galway Girl would obviously be one of them. This kind of came at a time when I was trying to get more in touch with my own heritage, which is Italian Scottish. So, the Celtic side of the sound really appealed to me. Millennium actually had some Celtic sounding stuff on their album, This Strange Engine. And I caught a lot of flack at work for kind of they considered this kind of music very corny. But I love it. I love that kind of Celtic jig kind of vibe. And Galway Girl's a brilliant song. What's a fella to do when her hair is black and her eyes are blue? You know, and I traveled around this great big world. I ain't never seen nothing but a Galway girl. So Tim's going to try to reconnect. I also like there's just a couple little spoken word bits in between songs here. I like when Steve Earle goes, all right, let's magnetize this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I also like when he says, and always remember, folks, there's no room for vulgarity in bluegrass, or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's the line.
It's a brilliant album. I've liked Steve Earle. I got on board the Steve Earle train with I Feel All Right. Our mutual friend T-Rev is the biggest Steve Earle fan in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
He is a big fan.
And Tim is back, or at least he's trying. So I got on board with I Feel All Right. El Corazon was a little bit darker, I think.
It's by far my favorite.
I'm not faulting it, but I think it is darker than I Feel All Right. That's my impression of it when I listen to it.
It is.
Taney Town is a dark song.
Yeah.
Not that I Feel All Right. Cocaine Cannot Kill My Pain is a dark song, but I think most of that album is more upbeat. Either way, I feel Transcendental Blues is more akin to I Feel All Right than El Corazon. They sound more like a pair to me. That's just my impression. Anyway, let's bring...
I Feel All Right and El Corazon to me are, I'd even say, much better albums than Transcendental Blues.
I Feel All Right is a masterpiece. I'm going to bring Tim back on. Okay, how are we doing, Tim?
There we go.
Hey,
okay.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
Apparently I need a new phone charger.
No worries, buddy.
But seriously though, Deke was talking away, and I was getting this weird echo. And Mike and John didn't seem to comment that he was having audio issues, so I thought, great, I'm having a stroke. Anyway.
Either way,
I'm the only one that's
I had
here
the same number too.
Okay.
So you may as well go ahead with yours,
so to speak. Okay. I knew no one else would have this. It was on a tiny little label. It didn't chart. It's one of my favorite bands, and it is Kansas.
Oh.
Hold that up so people can see it. And this is called Somewhere to Elsewhere. And this, by the way, is from, I think it's from Russia.
Huh.
And it's sealed. I bought sealed. And Mike, if you remember last week while we were doing our Rare CDs episode, that Ches commented that this was being reissued, and I bought it as we were talking. I pre-ordered it off Amazon. It's this album. I'll take it out of the case. Well, isn't that sad? I'll take it out of the case so I don't get the glare.
Okay.
Everything's backwards here. Okay. So the idea behind this album is that this album reunited the original six-man Kansas as they were for their first few albums. So it was Kerry Livgren came back. I think Kerry wrote the entire album. And so it was actually a 7-piece because they had 2 bass players. They had their current bass player, Billy Greer, and their first player, Dave Hope, came back just for this one album. And it's kind of a concept album. Some of the CD's profits were to go to the World War II Memorial Fund. So it has a lot to do with World War II and veterans and stuff like that, especially the opening track, Icarus 2, which is a sequel to their song Icarus Born on Wings of Steel, which is from their Mask album. And what they would tend to do in concert is play both of those songs back to back. This is on Magna Carta Records. I don't know if anyone else has heard of that label. They're primarily prog label, either new bands or Tiles, or tribute albums. I know there's a Rush tribute album I have on that. And then oddly enough, David Lee Roth's Diamond Dave album that he put out in 2003 is on Magna Carta. So figure that out. But very little known album. It didn't chart. It didn't do anything. And they didn't do another studio album for another 16 years and in an almost completely different lineup. But I'm a big fan of this album. It was I wasn't sure whether this was going to be number one or not. In the end, obviously it's not, but it was almost number one. So I'm a really big fan of it.
I haven't heard of that one. And my
Me
brother's a
either.
massive Kansas fan, so I need to find out if he has that one.
Cool.
Because maybe he's not as massive as I thought. Yeah.
All right. Well, I've already gone. So, John, that means you're taking us into the number one spot.
Oh, okay. All right. So I finally get to something heavy. It took me a while, but I love this album. And it was not a style of music I listened to back in the day. You know, it mixed hip hop, it mixed metal. It's new metal kind of thing. It's Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. I just love it. I mean, the opening song, Paper Cut, straight into One Step Closer, Crawling, In the End is probably one of the best songs they've ever done. Pushing Me Away, Forgotten. I mean, there's just so many good songs. It's great to be in a car, have this turned up as loud as it can go. And you tend flipping off a lot of people when you're driving and have that cranking. It's aggressive. And back in 2000, I needed that with what was going on in the life. And so it was this album, and there was another album I liked that you say the honorable mention when we get to them. But I just enjoyed, was it Mike Shenandoah? You know, the way he sings, and then you've got
Shinoda.
Shinoda? Yeah, Shinoda. I liked his singing, but it was Chester's, his raps and his screams, how he could also be very melodic when he's screaming too and stuff. And I just really, really got into it. And I don't have all their stuff, but I definitely have the first few albums. But yeah, that's my number one.
That's right. I've never been a fan per se, but I can honestly say that I've heard some stuff that is really hooky, and the term they sound like nobody else gets thrown around like a lot, but it totally pertains to them because it's them the second and it's 100%. Obviously some sort of decision production wise that they had their own kind of niche in what they do, and some of it actually is pretty good.
Okay, I would say that they have sort of become their own subgenre. And to give you an example of that, anytime you see a spoof of the Transformers movies, there's always spoof music of like a Linkin Park sounding theme song. And it's very niche and it's very unique.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a cool pick, John. I played that album a lot in the store. A lot.
Yeah, I play it. If I don't play, I play it at least once a month, I think.
Cool.
And I might not spin it the vinyl once a month, but I do listen to the album in some form pretty much all the time. So,
All right, Eric, this is where you and I deviate.
Indeed. So when this came up, when this idea just kind of came out of nowhere, and like the first time I looked at these albums, I'm looking around, and when I came to this album, I'm like, holy shit! Like I didn't put two and two together. But my number one is in my top 10 albums of all time. With a bullet, it's probably even close to top 5, and it is released on May 2nd of the year 2000. Ween, White Pepper. Now, I am not a huge Ween fan. I like a lot of Ween sporadically, other than this album. This album as a whole, I guess it's a top 10 thing. And I remember as somebody that I believe Mike Ladano trained at his record store, Mr. David Holmes.
Ah, yes. Homer.
He made me listen to this album. He's like, listen, I know you're not a big fan of this band, but just please listen to this album. And it really is a collection of great songs. And it's funny because it's their 7th album. And hardcore Ween fans, when this album came out, I was actually looking at some Reddit things yesterday, and the one guy said that it was edgeless and overglossed. Like, that's how he described his thoughts of it at the time. And then he was talking about how, how him and his buddies all thought that they had sold out. And like now, years later, these Ween people love this album. But at the time, they thought, oh, it's not them being funny all the time. It's not them, a baby bitch and pushing the daisies up and a whole album of like, like comedy country songs. But the album White Pepper from beginning to end is just a bunch of great songs. It's loosely meant to be a Beatles thing, which my old buddy, who was an incredible musician, Paul McLeod, he and it's one of the albums that I truly got him into, to the point that he played like 1/3 of the album live, which was really cool. But just and it's White Pepper. It's the White Album and Sgt. Pepper, and that's what the name of the album is kind of based on. And it's just an amazing album. And there's anything of this whole thing that I'd like for people to do is listen to this album once, and I'd be curious what people think. Yes, there is a little bit of quirkiness to it because it is Ween, but it's just not the same. And it sounds amazing. The production is amazing. They released a video that was produced by the South Park boys. And I guess they're big buddies, and that makes sense because their music is kind of South Park-ish at times. Ween are masters at writing songs that sound like other bands, but aren't copies of other bands. They have a song called Gabrielle on another album that is the most Thin Lizzy sounding song I've ever heard. They have another song that sounds exactly like Motorhead. They have another song that sounds exactly like Prince, and they're really cool at doing that kind of shit. There's just so many great songs on the album. I can't say anything. I can't say enough about how amazing the writing is and the sound of it is. They have a song near the end called "Stay Forever," which is a total perfect love song. It's just catchy and it's awesome. And then the very next song is called "Falling Out," which is about best friends basically ending their friendship. And it's the symmetry of it. It's just a perfect mix. They have a song called "Stroker Ace," which is literally about the movie Stroker Ace with Burt Reynolds and Lonnie Anderson.
And Dom DeLuise.
Yeah, the album is incredible. I would love if people would just give it once on the Spotify that they have or whatever they use. I just listened to it once, and I'm curious what people think, because it truly is like top shelf writing. It's and if there's any if there's any album by that band Ween to listen to for someone to who isn't a fan, this is it. Because like I said, it really is accessible to people, and it's not just their Black album by Metallica, because they just came right back being weird right after it. So there was a purpose to what they were doing. Amazing album. One of the best albums of all time for me.
Cool. I went and added it, and when I was clicking out, I accidentally clicked this page, and that's why I cut off and came back. I was adding it into my playlist.
Cool. I'm very curious what you think. I really am, because it has something for everybody.
I know our mutual friend Joe Perry is a big fan of that album. Huge fan. Yeah. I just want to address our friend over here in Yorkshire who has seen that episode of The Contrarians on Rockarola, where I think I was like one of the only, if not the only, dissenting voice, and because it's not an album I really like a lot, but How plead I? I guess I plead guilty. I know what you mean. I know why people like it, but sometimes it's all about the first impressions. And I was too young. I was too young for Rock-a-Rolla when I first heard it, and it's never clicked with me the way that I want it to. I'm so sorry. I beg your forgiveness to the judge, the jury, the executioner. But thanks for watching. Anyway, Tim, what is your number one album from the year 2000?
Well, it's an artist who I should have been listening to for a long time before the year 2000. I was very, very late getting into Alice Cooper.
Brutal.
And it was a combination of things. Again, my buddy Matt, I have to thank him because he was an Alice fan. He bought this album, and I remember listening to this album. It was so heavy. It was the first album he'd put out in 6 years, but it was complete drop D. Eric Singer is on it. He sounds awesome. And I heard this album and love it to death. And that's one of my favorites too. So, I mean, we're talking about totally different eras. And I also remember that year, Columbia House, I was a member of Columbia House. They had their box sets on for half price. And I got his most excellent box set, The Life and Crimes of Alice Cooper. And that sold me right there. But this album is just, it's a concept album about a dystopian world. I've also got it on cassette. Sadly, I don't have it on vinyl. But what really solidified my love for this album was the fact that I actually got to see Alice on the Brutal Planet tour in Portland, Maine that October. And as Matt and I were going back and forth looking at used record stores, we crossed the street to go from one record store to another pawn shop. And who did we run into but Mr. Alice Cooper himself? Who was just coming out, who was just coming in the store. Apparently on that tour, he has this thing where he collects, I think it was watches. I want to say it was watches. But he had his hair all tucked up under a cap, just a leather jacket on. He looked like a bus driver. He looked like Otto from The Simpsons or something, like very skinny. And he walked out and made contact. And I remember Matt literally said, "Holy shit." And I said, "Alice, how are you?" "Good." He was gone. Like he was not looking to be recognized, and we didn't want to bother the guy.
Yeah.
But it was like we're just looking at each other like, did that really just happen? So the cool part of this is that we did meet somebody. We met Eric Singer once we got inside the theater. It was just a theater he was playing in. And I want to say this is the sad part. Is that Alice has done so many great albums. Yes, I hope it happens too for you. Alice has put out so many great albums since, the 90s. Almost every time he's on a different label. None of them sell. And it's really a tragedy because it's really, really good, consistent stuff. But Brutal Planet is my favorite of all of them. And I listen to that album all the time. He did most of it live. The set was amazing. Of course, he had a heavy band playing with him. And so he has a heavy band playing with him. Everything he played sounded heavy. You can imagine, if he's got this drop D, the critics sort of called it his new metal album. I don't really buy that. It's an Alice album. It's just a very heavy one. But when he would, yes, Harrison, Dirty Diamonds is really good. But so the album is heavy. So when he would do stuff like Go to Hell, it was just really nasty and heavy sounding. And it was really cool. Love It to Death is great. I also brought other props, because I couldn't resist. I had to buy this. It was so twistedly cute. This was at the merch booth. So it's a little teddy bear with Alice's eye makeup with the Brutal Planet album cover on.
That's so cool.
So there you go.
I'm envious.
So that's my my favorite album of 2000 is Alice Cooper, Brutal Planet. You can also get the DVD Brutally Live, which chronicles that tour.
Yes.
Love Special Forces. I love those quirky early 80s albums. And it's very similar to the show that I saw. So it was a great way to just solidify the fact that, yeah, I'm a fan of this guy. And now I've got this huge back catalog to explore. So that's my pick.
You know what, Tim? I am so shocked. There's two things about tonight that have shocked me. Is what you and I have not agreed on anything, which is so unusual.
Yeah, I'm shocked
I
by
love
that
the
too.
variety.
I honestly thought that Tim and Mike would combine on something. I really did.
I'm not a Brutal Planet fan. I only like the title track. I do think it's his new metal album. But you know what? I know that there are a lot of dissenting voices out there, because once you get online and you see people talking about it and you see how much people do like it, you know, Ryan Roxy played on that tour, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, Ryan Roxy. Greg Smith was on bass. I know he was in Rainbow at one point. Who was the other guitar player? He had two guitar players.
I'm trying to blank.
He had Teddy Z on keyboards. And who was the other guitar player? Pete Friesen.
Canadian boy.
Who had played with him previously. Who was... What's that?
Canadian boy. Pete Friesen's Canadian.
He's in a
boy.
band too. Is it the Almighty or is it the Young Gods? Yes. He's in a UK
Almighty.
band.
The Almighty.
Okay. So he had a 6-piece band, and Eric was awesome. And both times I seen Alice in concert. I saw him in 2000 and 2006, and it just so happened that Eric was in between stints with Kiss. So. And Eric was super mellow. We could have talked to him for a long time, but we didn't want to wear out our welcome. But I remember thinking, we were both Matt and I wanted to mention to Eric how awesome his drum performance was on Kiss Unplugged, because I think that his drumming on that is just completely immaculate. There's not one tom hit or cymbal crash or hi-hat out of place. It's just so pristine and perfect. But at that time, we didn't know if Kiss was a sore spot for Eric, given everything that had gone on. Now, little did we know at the time, just a few months later, guess what? He's wearing Catman makeup. So we probably could have talked to him about it. But it's pretty cool, because Eric Singer to this day, the only member of Kiss I've ever met. So
that's cool.
That's very
Here's
cool.
the other thing. Here's the other thing that surprises me about your list. I expected you to pick this.
Oh yeah,
I'm surprised.
I saw that on the list.
I listened to it yesterday.
Really special tonight. I can't even see it.
Oh, it's Journey Live.
Okay, I've got a simple explanation for that, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a simple explanation for that. I consider the 2001 album.
Okay. It came out in Japan in 2000.
Otherwise, yes, with that different cover. But yeah, if I had gotten that version of it, if I had that version of it, then yes, that would have been pretty high up on my list. Rest assured.
There's a great
song. It seems so weird to me that me and Mike combined on 3 or almost 4 albums, basically, because he talked about the 4th anyway. And then you guys,
right?
It's 10 between you, John and Tim. It's just weird that there's so much in common, and then it's so different. That's the power of music, I guess. You don't know.
I'm a little surprised there, because I expected you to pick my number 1 album too.
Yeah, I knew somebody was going to pick it.
Yeah,
I thought somebody was going to pick it.
I waited a long time for this. So
that's basically their comeback, right?
So little known fact. Early in Iron Maiden's career in the 70s, there were a lot of lineup changes, and Harrison can certainly tell you about all the previous lead singers, such as Paul Mario Day or Dennis Wilcock. But they had a lot of different guitar players. There was even a period where Dave Murray was briefly out of the band. There were some behavioral issues, I believe. But there was also a period where Steve Harris had two guitar players that weren't. He wasn't 100%. Oh, hey, Ralph, how you doing, buddy? We're gonna have Ralph on soon. We're gonna do a show about at 1986 with Ralph. So there was a period in the 70s where he had two guitar players, neither of which were really great soloists. And he wanted to bring in Dave Murray as a third guitar player to solo over top of these two rhythm players. And the three guitar lineup of Iron Maiden never happened until the year 2000, when they finally recorded a new album with the three guitar lineup of Dave Murray, Adrian Smith, and the much maligned Yannick Gers. I see a lot of online hate for Yannick these days, and I don't understand why. I really don't. One thing I love about Iron Maiden is you've got three guitar players with three distinctly different styles. You cannot mistake Yannick for Adrian Smith. There's no way. And Dave Murray is somewhere in the middle, but he's got a really manic kind of soloing style and very idiosyncratic to Iron Maiden. I was really looking forward to the three guitar lineup. And this was also the very first one produced by Kevin Caveman Shirley. And it was sonically very new for Iron Maiden. They've been getting a little, Harrison's going to hate me. They've been getting a little stale with self-producing with Steve and his engineer, Nigel Green. Aaron just texted me, by the way. So hi, Aaron. They were getting, I personally think they were getting a little stale sounding with Nigel Green. Stiff, maybe. I really loved Caveman's production on this. Very crisp. And I know it was important to the band to capture the three guitars, clearly. Interestingly enough, a good, like maybe solid half of this album was written for Blaze Bayley's version of Iron Maiden. But a lot of it was new, with Adrian co-writes and Bruce Dickinson co-writes. I think it was really, there's a lot of integrity to what Steve Harris did here. He brought not just Bruce back, but he also brought Adrian back. And any fan of Iron Maiden knows that Adrian was a key songwriter during the 80s. He came up with a lot of the most melodic material. And having the two of them come back, because they were a pair already in Bruce's solo band. They did The Accident of Birth and Chemical Wedding together. A lot of co-writes. So bringing them back as a pair, it was just perfect. And then keeping Yannick on as the third guitar player out of sheer loyalty and I think probably enthusiasm for making that three guitar lineup finally happen. This was my most important album of the year 2000. I remember when The Wicker Man came out, which Ralph has called out here, and Tom Morwood asked me, what does it sound like? And I said, it's kind of got like a 2 minutes to midnight kind of vibe to the rhythm, but then it's more melodic, like more like a Wasted Years kind of chorus, you know? And Tom's like, yeah, but you're pretty heavy on your praise sometimes, which is true and fair. But when this album came out, it really did live up to my expectations. I love just about every song. I think maybe if there's anything I would cut off this album, it might be The Nomad, and Dream of Mirrors might be able to be trimmed by a few minutes. I don't know. I just love Brave New World. I was so happy that Iron Maiden were back. I was glad that Derek Riggs came back to do at least some of the artwork. I think it's two artists, if I'm not mistaken, that did this cover. I don't know. I don't know what else I can say. This is just such an important album to me personally. It was in my car that entire year. And The Wicker Man is still a song that I can just crank. That riff in there, that's Adrian, man. Like that's him. Dave doesn't write that way. Yannick doesn't write that way, and neither does Steve. That riff is pure Adrian. And Harrison's teasing me about something that I want to own. You little bastard. But anyway, that I got nothing else to say. That's my number one. I'm surprised that none of you picked it.
Well, you're not surprised I didn't pick it.
No, I know you're not a huge fan. And Kevin has a very, very valid point there. A lot
That
of the
is a
songs
valid
can be
point.
trimmed. And Brave New World is no exception. I bet you I could probably find 5 minutes of that entire album to trim.
He's right. Like, what if somebody? It's almost like if you're like, "Hey, somebody, you've never seen a Kubrick film, go watch them all." You're like, "Oh, well, now I got to watch, 14 movies that are almost 3 hours long." It's just a daunting task.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love Iron Maiden, and there's albums. I mean, Brave New World. I know I've heard some. I've never heard the whole thing, and it's in entirety. It's not necessarily my genre or the band that, like. But there's several albums like they're just and Kevin's so right. Like sometimes the song's just too long. Like it's.
Now
Or
Meek's
do
having
something
problems.
different because it just seems like a very similar thing that's always happening. It's very formulaic, very formulaic. Just that riff goes 4 times. Vocals. Oh, there's going to be a slow part with some bass going on. Light, and then it all ramps back up. Sometimes it's just too much formulaic,
Yep.
and it happens, and then it happens a long time.
Yes, it does.
Also,
Fair.
so
All fair. Totally fair. But
Yeah.
I was hungering for it at that time.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was an awesome set of lists, guys. And again, I'm shocked at Tim, but I love the diversity of it. And I love that you picked Crack a Smile, man.
Yeah.
Like that is a killer choice. What happened to Blue Saraceno?
I really don't know. I mean, I think he's still alive,
I think so, yeah.
but
Yeah.
Also, I just noticed some crazy news for World of Hard Rock. I had read earlier that one of my favorites, Dave Meniketti from Y&T, was having
Prostate.
health issues.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Turns out he's diagnosed with form of prostate cancer.
Wow.
I saw that.
Now he thinks he can beat it.
Yeah.
He's optimistic, but man, he's the last man standing of the original 4 guys.
Damn.
Lovely singer.
Love to Dave Meniketti.
Sorry to end the show on a.
Oh well,
Yeah.
we're not
Bad
ending the
note,
show on that
but,
note. We're not ending the show.
Love
on that
him on Hearing Aid. Love him.
Yeah. We
Love
can
him.
be strong. We are
Oh, yeah,
fire
yeah,
and
yeah.
stone.
Love him.
No,
Okay,
that's,
so but we're not ending on that
That's
note.
not. That's dude from Bluish to Cult. Eric.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, it was.
He's
yeah.
right. He's right. I was trying to think, like, wait, that's not
Dave
him.
starts sometime at night. Like,
Sometimes in the night when you're feeling the cold.
Yeah.
yeah. And the ad
Okay,
libs,
so-
the ad libs at the end. Oh,
Oh
man.
yeah.
That's great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great on it.
So not to end on a downer note, let's really quickly talk about next week, because Tim and I have plans for next week. Why don't you explain?
Yeah, the band that you thought I was going to bring out tonight.
Yeah, that's right. The quintet from San Francisco,
What?
Journey.
Journey.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Tim seems to have cut out somehow again.
What's going on?
We've lost Tim's audio. Or
I don't know
something.
what's going on, guys. I can hear you guys.
Oh, your audio's a little choppy. On Tim's Vinyl Confessions next week, we're doing Journey. We're anticipating the release of their new album. We've been waiting for any kind of news. They just announced a track listing this week. I think the album comes in May. So yeah, next week on Tim's Vinyl Confessions, we'll be doing Journey, and I'm really excited about that.
Cool.
All Journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin is dropping his 2000 here, and there's some great picks here. I'll just run them down.
I'm about to do some honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All these.
But before we do that, Eric, sticking to the topic of next week, I'd like to ask a favor of you because we're doing ballads next week.
Hey, Harrison.
Hello.
And Harrison and John, I believe, are both joining me for ballads, I think.
I'll check with the boss, but
Okay.
yeah.
Rob Daniels wants to join us for ballads next, and I want you for ballads next week.
Are you looking for like a pajama party? What's
Yes.
going on here? Like,
That's why I brought
that's
Harrison
a lot of
in.
people.
I brought Harrison in because we're going to twist your arm right now.
Okay. I will do now, but what are we doing with ballads again?
We're going to do a Cinco de Listo, but remember last time the show was unwatchable because we had such bad internet.
Okay.
So
well, last time we did it was top 11.
Yeah, so we got to do a top 5 now.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
All right. Well, Harrison, that was easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I'm going with go Harrison.
And good morning, Harrison.
Thank
Good
you,
evening,
George Harrison Cobb.
Yeah,
Tim,
there
are
won't be
you,
any Beatles on my list.
Let's check in with Tim and see if he's got any audio. Can we hear you, Tim? Oh, he's muted. Tim's muted.
He's
Can
also
you hear
frozen.
me, Major Tim?
Sorry?
He's frozen. Okay. Well, I will give you the honorable mentions for me. There were some that came up on Kevin's thing there. A Government Mule, A Life Before Insanity, the Almost Famous soundtrack, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Californication. Steely Dan had an album called Two Against Nature, which is really good. Bela Fleck and the Flecktones and an album called Outbound, and I saw them live in that tour. That was great.
Nice.
A guy named Richard Cheese, Lounge Against the Machine. Some great, fun kind of comedy songs on there. Band called Orange Goblin with with an album called The Big Black, which is very good. A Johnny Cash American Recordings 3. One that pretty much the last Neil Young album that I actually really like, Silver and Gold. There's some really good stuff on that album. But the two that are the big honorable mentions, because they were both on my list originally until I saw more. One is an artist, and this is going to surprise some, an artist called Sade with an album called Lovers Rock. And that is an excellent album from beginning to end. It is just soft jazz. Some people aren't going to get into it, but it sounds great. And that is a fucking great album. And the one that was really close, and for Rob Daniels, it was another soundtrack that got beaten out by another soundtrack, and the soundtrack is done by a band called Air, AIR, and it was the soundtrack to the movie called The Virgin Suicides, directed by Francis Ford Coppola's son, Sofia Coppola. Great movie, and the album The Virgin Suicides is just great weird stuff by this band called Air, and there's one song called Dirty Trip is something that I encourage everyone to listen to once, because it sounds like it's like funky Pink Floyd. It's hard to explain. It's just so good. That album sounds great. But yeah, there they are. They're done.
So Tim's just messaging me right now. He's gonna check out for tonight.
Okay.
Too many issues, but hopefully next week. I believe we are planning on doing this Tim's Vinyl Confessions live. I believe that is the plan. We'll see what happens. But looking forward to it.
Now it's Octopus Wants to Fight IPA. And he does want to fight. Look, he's even got a Band-Aid on his head like Les Nessman.
Well, in terms of runners-up, Silicon Messiah by Blaze. I don't know if... I mean, it's a great album.
Yeah.
It is unfortunate that it came out the same year as Brave New World, because obviously it got completely overshadowed. But it's a solid debut. It's heavy. It's heavier than Maiden. For people who don't like the repeaty side of Iron Maiden, there's none of that on the Blaze, but it's still got some really solid grooving, good riffs, great singing. It's
the title track is literally Blaze's Stairway to Heaven, and it's basically stuck in his set list his entire career.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. What else do I have? Page and the Black Crowes live at the Greek. That is such a good album.
Yes.
Radiohead Kid A, which controversially is my favorite Radiohead.
Boo.
The Hives, Very Vicious, great album. Boss Tones, Pay Attention. Oh, Ween White Pepper. Yeah, you mentioned that one. This is not a great album, but I like Catherine Wheel, and this is their very last album, Wishville. King's X did an interesting record that year called "Please Come Home, Mr. Bulbous," which is very weird.
It's good, but not great. Yeah.
Charlie Sheen is a great song on that album, and that's the second time we've mentioned Charlie Sheen tonight.
I got Tiger Blood, baby.
David Coverdale, Into the Light. I know that Jon Snow has reviewed that.
That is an honorable mention for me as well. Yeah.
Box set of that coming at some point in the near future. And you know what? I'm going to give U2 props for All That You Can't Leave Behind. It was the first album of theirs that I liked in a long time.
Yep.
So I'll give them props for that. And one more album that I will mention that Meat and I were talking about offline. Meat has a phrase that he calls heavy metal bullshit. And I know what he means. But it's very hard to explain and articulate. And there's an album that came out in the year 2000 that I kind of think is sort of like the real beginning of heavy metal bullshit. And it's an album called Resurrection by Rob Halford, which was written and produced by Roy Z. He's kind of a riff factory.
Was that done at Sound City?
No, I don't think so. It might have been. I have no idea. It's the one that had a duet with Bruce Dickinson on it, and they weren't even in the same room when they recorded it. And
thanks. Yeah.
I find Rob Halford's Resurrection to be a little heavy metal bullshitty. I find it to be by numbers. I find it to be by rote. I find it to be just. I mean, it's not that the riffs are bad, but you can have a good riff that's heavy metal bullshit, but you still know it's heavy metal bullshit. And that's what I feel about Resurrection, is that Rob said to Roy Z, I want to write a heavy metal album again because I did this 2 project with Trent Reznor, and now people think that I'm a techno dance artist, so I need to do heavy metal, so I need traditional heavy metal riffs. So then Roy Z goes, yeah, man, I got a few of those. These are some leftovers from that Bruce Dickinson didn't use on his last album. This is just my speculation on events.
The heavy metal bullshit thing that I've been talking about. I mean, I look at it as Kiss, Creatures of the Night, Black Sabbath, Dehumanizer, Thin Lizzy, Thunder and Lightning. All 3 of those albums.
Yeah.
All 3 of those albums. And it's not a criteria that's saying that it's shit music. What it is to me is that all 3 of those albums are heavier than the band really is. Dehumanizer, to me, at times it's a little too heavy. It's heavier than it needs to be. Same with the Thin Lizzy album. Same with the other one. One that I said. Creatures of the Night is the perfect example of it.
Revenge then would follow that as well.
Revenge would follow.
See, but Revenge. One, I think there's some better songs on Revenge, and 2, I think it's a little bit more a natural progression for them. To me, Creatures of the Night was such a jolting. Oh, okay, now we're heavy. I like it loud. Like, oh my God, they have a tank. Like, it's all about heavy metal and that total change, and that's the heavy metal bullshit. You're purposely becoming heavy metal bullshit.
I'm definitely with Meat on Dehumanizer. I found that a lot of the songs just had this real faceless riffing, and that there's heavy riffing there. Your brain recognizes that there's riffing, but it does nothing. You don't remember it. It just exists, and it's just too heavy. I didn't like a lot of Dehumanizer. I just found it sort of boring and samey and just faded and not very memorable.
Well,
which is surprising because it's Tony Iommi.
This is a subject for another day. Harrison,
and of course, as you alluded to in an earlier show, apparently some people take objection with Dio's voice does not suit the melody line that Dio wrote for Time Machine.
Okay. Hey, Harrison, do me a favor.
Honestly,
and listen to Ween White Pepper if you can, please. I'm curious of your thoughts.
I'm sure he'll love it. Not anyway.
I'm curious. He probably will hate it, but I have no idea.
Will.
I think John will like it. Harrison, I don't think will like it, but who knows? You never know.
Anyway, I just want to thank Harrison for joining us tonight, surprising you with his. He's just recently endured some a double extraction, I believe, is wisdom teeth.
All four.
So he's all four. So
All four.
Okay. So you're actually doing pretty good for having all four out.
Yeah, basically a week ago. Yeah, it's healed remarkably quickly. I was fortunate with the way that it was placed, in that my back teeth were so close to like the back of the mouth that the wisdom teeth couldn't come through. So when they had to get taken out, there weren't these gaping holes left that needed weeks to heal.
Well, you'll be in better shape next week, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah,
and
totally.
It'll be all four of us plus Rob Daniels next week.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So next week's going to be ballads.
The ballads is 1 week from now. Is what
1 week from now.
Ballads
and then again, like I said, on the Saturday, I'm doing Tim's Vinyl Confessions. We're doing Journey. So that'll be a blast. That'll be and you look, you sold Kevin. You sold Kevin. I think Kevin will appreciate it.
I think Kevin will like it a lot.
Yeah, he will like it a lot.
Honestly, I do believe that. Partly because I know he gets the Tenacious D thing, not really comparing them because they're not the same thing, but he might have an affinity for that kind of feel, that genre, whatever. Yeah.
All right, so that's the plan for next week. Us plus Rob doing ballads, and me plus Tim doing Journey. So, yeah, good times. And thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for joining me, and we'll see you next week. I think you guys know what. He's gonna be a blast in the comments next week.
Kevin, check out the ballad called "Stay Forever" on Ween White Pepper, and tell me that's not a good ballad.
There you go. I can't wait to see what Kevin's got lined up for us next week in the comments. But we're gonna go out on a song, and you know which one it's gonna be because it's everybody's new favorite. So, Community.
Yeah.
What's that?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I thought it was gonna be ODP again.
Oh no, I played ODP at the start, man.
Yeah.
I played ODP at the start. Got it out of the way fast.
Yay.
All right. Well, we'll see all four of us. And Rob. All right, cool. Well, thanks, guys. We had a great night tonight, and I'll see you all next week.
Rock and roll.
See you later. Bye.
Here's the Community by the Community.
October.
In the fall of '06, somewhere in the sticks of southern Ontario, we planted a seed, had a yearning need we couldn't get from the stereo. Started out as two and it slowly grew into a passionate fraternity. No matter where I roam, it's always home from here to eternity. It's where we'll thrive with immunity, and it keeps me alive. Community, it's my community. Community, it's my community. So I said, hey Joe, come on, let's go. I hear adventure, it's a calling me. I'm gonna lose control down a rabbit hole in the heart of the big city. We're gonna squash a beetle with a rolling stone and fly the black flag all the way back home. If you eat shit flowers, I ain't got time. No matter what we find, it's the glue that binds, you see. It's where we'll thrive with immunity, and it keeps me alive. Community, it's my community. Community, it's my community.
desde Cuba a la comunidad de Aaron.